and welcome back to another episode of Retirement Income Planning. And we're just going to start off from where we left off in the previous episode. So if you don't have this calculator set up yet or downloaded, then make sure you go back and download it. The link is in the description below. Is 5minuteinvesting.com/retirement-return-calculator. So you can just sign up for it, and you just need to make a copy, and then we can get started. So before we start, I just want to celebrate another 4 successful case studies where Arian made 104% from Intel in 5 months, Daniel made 18% from RTX in 9 months, Ishak made 101% from American Express in 78 days, and Annie made 103% from Chef in 4.5 months. So congratulations to you all. These are fantastic case studies, and keep up the good work. All right, so back to where we started. Now let's talk about the minimum case. Usually when you're looking to retire, you're looking for somewhere around $25,000 a year to $50,000 a year of annual expenses for a person. So of course this depends on your lifestyle and how much you want to spend. And when you're thinking about a balance of, let's say, $500,000, then making 7% return will already kind of get you there. Now in this case, I actually assumed you're saving $1,000 a month at $500,000, but if you're retired, then this will actually be 0. So that's how you use the calculator. And this will show you that, hey, for the first year, making 7% already gives you $35,000, which is a livable amount of gain you can get if you are frugal. And of course, if you want to be spending around $70K, which is kind of the median wage for people to be happy, then you're looking at around $70K, $1 million, which gives you around $70K. And if you have $500,000, then you can grow it to around the 11th or the 12th year. So that is really how you would project into the future in terms of when you can retire. Now, of course, if you go down, let's say you're starting with 100,000, then this will take a lot longer. So here you can see if you're starting with 100,000 and you want to retire, then it would take 35 years for not putting another dollar into your portfolio to get to $1 million. So again, this return is before inflation. So you got to take into account that after 35 years, a lot of things will be more expensive. So, okay, now let's say you're saving $1,000 a month and you start with $100,000 to invest. So in order for you to reach $1 million in portfolio using 7%, you need 22 years. That means if you work backwards and you want to retire, let's say 65 or 60 something, then you need to start in your 40. So if you start when you're 40 or before, then you should be in a pretty good shape. If you start even earlier, so let's say you start when you are 30, then you can potentially get to even a better amount. So if you're 30 and you have 100K in a portfolio already, just putting it in an index fund itself will already get you to $2.something million over a long period of time. So that is really the minimum case you're looking at. That's why saving early is so important because it allows compound interest to work in your favor a lot better. Now, most of the time, if you are investing in a 401k or whatnot, chances are you're not going to be getting 7% return. And this is really because when you're looking at your mutual fund, is a mix of equities, bonds, and also some other stuff like real estate investment trusts. So your return is probably going to be lower unless you choose aggressive mutual funds, which I have seen some people do it. I would say is really rare. Out of my experience of talking to 900 something people on the call, I would say maybe I've seen 30 people or less choose an aggressive mutual fund as their 401k investment strategy. So I would say your return is closer to 5%. After inflation, you're really looking at around 2% to 3%. So it's not that much. So this will then lower your portfolio balance after 35 years. So it's still a sizable chunk, 1.6 million. That is pretty good. But you can see the amount of dedication and consistency you'll need to put in order to make it work. Now, one of the important things here, I assumed, is really putting $1,000 a month into investing. And obviously, this is including your 401k, or if you're in Canada, your RRSP contribution, and including your TFSA in Canada, or any IRA contributions you have, or a regular portfolio as well. Now, one of the things here you observe is actually that this is a pre-tax number. So when you're looking at a pre-tax number, you need to consider, well, are you getting dividend on an annual basis? If you are, then it actually lowers your return because you get taxed every single year for the next 35 years. And if you are buying and selling, sometimes there's a lot of transaction costs. But of course, if you're a long-term investor, then this wouldn't be a problem for you. So there are some other assumptions you need to adjust in such a way so then your return actual will be lower than what we just entered into the calculator. So that's why when you're investing, you need buffer. You might need to save more, so on and so forth. Now let's talk about how realistic it is to save $1,000 a month. Now, when you are looking at your 401k or your RRSP contribution, most of the time your employer will match you. So that means if you put in $1, you get $1. So that means if you are making $10K a month and you contribute, let's say 5% of your salary, and your employer matches you 5%, then you're really putting in $1K a month in terms of your RSP or your 401k. So that's actually what my employer does up till a certain amount. If I remember correctly, it's around 6% or 7%. So you want to check to see if your employer offers that benefit, because that is basically giving you 100% gain right off the bat. So it's going to be very beneficial. So when it comes to investing, the average S&P 500 return is around 8% to 10%, depending on which years you're looking at. Obviously, the recent years are higher. But if your employer offers you that matching, you want to maximize it to the absolute highest amount. Because if you maximize it, let's say it's up to 6%, then you're getting 12% of your salary, which includes the matching amount, into a 401k. So then that will save you a lot in terms of how much you need to contribute and how much you need to save and the return you need to get. So yeah, making 100% return for the first year is actually pretty good. So if you haven't checked, check your employer, and then afterwards, once you have figured out how much it is that you and your employer are contributing to your RRSP or 401k, then you can top it up with a Roth IRA or a regular investing account. So then you get to your desired monthly saving amount. Now, let's say you're able to save $2,000 a month. So I would say this is an aggressive scenario because based on my experience, only maybe less than 10% of the people will say they are saving $2,000 a month. Because this will include some after-tax money. So here you can see you'll actually be able to retire a lot faster. So let's say your goal is to get to $1 million, then it would only take you 20 years. So if you're starting when you're 40, you'll still get to a sizable portfolio at 60, and you can retire with, let's say, $50K a year, assuming the market gives you 7% every year. Now, of course, the market does not give you 7% every year, which is why you need buffer. And you also need to design your strategy around taking out an income. But that's a whole different topic by itself. So if you are starting younger and, let's say you're 30 or your 20s, just getting out of school and you want to plan for retirement, then you probably don't have 100K. So if you're younger, then you probably want to dial this down, maybe to something like 30K or 50K. So let's go with a number that is 30K. So this allows you to see how long does it take. So with 30K, saving $2,000 a month, so pretty aggressive, you can still get to $1 million after 22 years. So this is still a pretty good amount. If you're starting, let's say, in your 20s, and maybe you did some part-time job and you saved up 30K, you can retire by 42. So that's where you get people achieving FIRE early. But you need to consider that you're saving $2,000 a month. So that is pretty aggressive, I would say, because when you're younger in your career path, you also have lower income, which means higher expenditure. So it's harder to save $2,000 a month unless you work in some tech job, which gives you a very high pay. So after that, we're going to start talking about savings per month and how the effect of this changes over time. So that's going to be the next video. And then afterwards, we're going to start incorporating what I call an aggressive return or a more risky strategy. And then you're going to see how that changes the calculation and what that means for retirement. And then afterwards, we'll talk about withdrawal rate and how to achieve escape velocity. So we're almost at the 12-minute mark. So if you're interested in learning more about investing and how to get a higher return, then you can attend the 4-hour free training below. It's the first link in the description. And just sign up for it. It's a 4-hour webinar. Watch till the end and make sure you grab 2 cups of coffee. So I'll see you in the next video.